The White House is sounding confident in its ability to topple Libya's Colonel Gaddafi by the end of the month. And Defense Secretary Leon Panetta said last night the dictator's days are numbered. But the administration has said the same thing at least 3 times this year, on March 29th, on April 15th, on May 11th. It's just a few more days. My next guest says don't be fooled by these pronouncements or the president's Midwest bus tour or his constant chatter on the economy, because all of that is a distraction. Here to sound the alarm on this illegal, costly, and unconstitutional war of President Obama's choosing is Ohio Democratic Congressman Dennis Kucinich. Congressman Kucinich, it's always a pleasure. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much, Judge. Good to be with you.
What has become of the War Powers Act? Is it toothless? Does it still exist? Does the Congress have the will to enforce it?
There was a Supreme Court decision a few years ago that is being used to usurp the War Powers Act, and it all comes down to the Constitution. Let's set the War Powers Act aside for a minute. The Constitution makes it manifestly clear that only Congress has the power to send our young men and women into war. Unfortunately, this administration, even though it's headed by a constitutional scholar, now is ignoring the Constitution and determining that they have the right to send our troops into war anytime they please.
But Congress has a history of wanting to regulate more human behavior and wanting to aggrandize power to itself. This seems to be contrary to the human nature of most people in the government, that Congress is willing to give away its power to the president by knowingly look the other way when he starts wars. How do you explain that?
You know, Congress is, I think, catching up to this administration on the issue of Libya. We had some close votes in the last month, and we've also seen Congress speak out about no ground troops. At least the House of Representatives has said that. I think Congress, when it comes back, is going to have a jaundiced eye towards this administration's continuing the war in Libya. We will already be spending, as you pointed out, over $1 billion. We have needs here at home that aren't being met, and this war was never well defined to begin with. It's been about regime change. They wouldn't admit that. It was supposed to last days, weeks. Now we're into the 5th month. I mean, what's this all about anyway?
So where do we go from here? Or stated differently, is the president intentionally on this bus tour just talking about the economy, not responding to you, not responding to Ron Paul, not responding to us on the issue of war because he wants us to forget about it? He wants our attention on some other issue rather than his, let's be blunt, illegally killing people?
Well, you know, I have to say that it's the State Department that has taken the president into this mess. Furthermore, it's not only about Libya, as you know. We're wasting hundreds of billions of dollars in wars in Afghanistan, in Iraq, $1 billion now in Libya. How can we meet our needs here in this country if we keep blowing money in these wars? It just is incomprehensible that the administration is not moving quickly to end these wars and then at the same time free up the revenue to be able to use it to create jobs here at home.
Will you raise this issue again on the floor of the House of Representatives when the House comes back in September? Will you promise me that you will force the House to vote on this again to see who in the House is willing to stand by the Constitution and who's willing to act like a potted plant?
First chance I get, Judge, I'm going to come back with a piece of legislation to force another vote on Libya. We have to, and for that matter, if we can find opportunities to do it with respect to Iraq and Afghanistan, we'll do that as well. The American people have to know, the members of Congress are dedicated to taking a new direction here. Look, the war in Iraq and the wars in Afghanistan, we should be out of there by now, and we shouldn't have gone into Libya. And so we need to take a new direction and start focusing on creating jobs. You can't blow all this money on wars and then turn around and tell the American people, hey, we just don't have money enough to meet the needs of our country. Well, we have to change our priorities, and that's what I intend to work towards doing.
Congressman Dennis Kucinich, it's a pleasure. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Bye now.
GOP presidential hopefuls leave Iowa and head to the state of New Hampshire. But which of their campaigns will live free or die? Fox News' Doug Schoen has the answer to that, and he's here with us next.